Okay, welcome in. This is a impromptu treat with my business partner, Ore. We were just jamming on some other stuff and we were in the reflective mode. And we've definitely learned to record things along the way because the lessons we are gaining on this journey have been not the things that we expected, not the things we read in the books or got from other places. And so I've really dedicated this channel to thinking about documenting our steps. And when we just realized that we've done 500,000 in sales in the last 6 months, we knew there were some lessons to report because just a year ago, Ore, we were very far from this place. Now, sure, we had those numbers pinned up on our vision board, but to just think about how much growth continues to happen quarter after quarter, but still in such a short amount of time, we got to capture all of this before we're just on to the next boat ride, whatever, whatever this game is that we're playing. So I think this is your first time really being on the channel a year later. Welcome in.
Yeah, finally, finally. Yeah, finally, like everyone, I mean, you haven't been hiding me, but it's like this is my first official entry into the Hannah Hermanson YouTube show. So hi everyone. I'm Hannah's business
Yes,
partner. We
you've
started
heard
this
his
madness
voice
together.
every time I talk about Ore. Yes, this is the boy genius behind the scenes. And yeah, we have so many stories to tell, but I think we want to zero in on this. Okay, the last 6 months, 500,000 in revenue, right? So we were
Yeah.
just looking at our internal thermometer because this isn't just about the numbers, right? And
Yeah.
you are a boy, you're a bro. And sometimes I throw some shade on the like bro culture,
Yeah.
but you we do look at this differently than just, chasing the numbers on the screen. So you've been so helpful in bringing that concrete structure. And no, we do need to measure these things into the business because I don't even think I would have been tracking our growth the way that you've helped me and like put numbers behind it and use data, right?
Yeah, 100%. Also just like this has also been a huge journey of like growth and learning from you to me as well. Like I've learned and been inspired by so many things that you've done because like you said, like used to approach business solely from a bro mindset, but ever since we started working together, like I learned to also embrace like the understanding that okay, we're doing this for a real purpose, we're doing this for a real impact, and the actual lives that are being changed by reason of the work that we're doing. And money, success is really just a byproduct of that real genuine purpose. And also, like you guys, like this past 1 year, like working with Hannah, it's been absolutely magical because I've learned that like I've seen her manifest things out of thin air. I've learned that we can say something today and literally next week just see it happen in real life. And like I mean, yeah, I'm excited to dive in and just like talk about the whole journey.
Yeah, because a year ago we played that game of pinning on the vision board. We knew we had some puzzle pieces in place. The biggest one, I think, being our own delusion, or that, knowing that, like, yeah, we can pull numbers out of the air or goals out of the air and get there. And it's just really been about reverse engineering that big goal that we had, which is to have, a consistent 7-figure annual revenue. And so to get to 500,000 in 6 months, very much so shows us that we are on pace for that. But I do just want to put a little bit more context around the numbers because we know there are other big marketing gurus out here touting those kinds of big numbers. And so, what this actually looks like for us, what we're really celebrating is that, yes, we've become who we needed to become to get there. But what this looks like in our business model is that we're taking on, hand selecting 5 clients per month. And so there's a compound effect of payment plans that help us get to that. We're really thinking about 500,000 being what we've done in sales, and cash collected. What it looks like in our lives is at least 30K cash collected every single month, some months above 50K. And it's this consistency that I really want to document. Again, yes, you can go do a big launch or win the lottery and get a cash injection. But for us, we've always had to, because of my magical or stubborn ways, that is like, no, we need to do this in the holistic way. Like, have the lifestyle, have the energy, do this from a place of integrity, And yeah, money is going to measure our success, I think, if we do those things. So
Absolutely.
should we go back to where we were just a year ago? Like literally
Yeah,
our birthday, like our business partner birthday was a year ago this week.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. Like that, just like a year ago, we couldn't dream this up, right? Because we were at a stage where, to be fair, we had a love-hate relationship for each other because I came into Hannah's life and basically said we have to kill her old business. We have to like literally take a sledgehammer and just destroy it because it was built on a lot of like some of like the shaky foundations of principles that frankly some of you may currently be running your business on right now, and it was burning her out. It was, it wasn't sustainable. It was burning her out. Like one thing one thing you learn when you're in the shoes of someone like Hannah after running or being a business owner for almost a decade at this point is that it's really not just about the money, it's about the lifestyle. It's like, sure, you can make 20K a month, but like, does it feel good? Are you in integrity, right? Are you burning out? Like, do you have a huge overload on your head? Like, do you have like overheads that are just weighing you down? Do you have 10 people on your team that shouldn't really be on your team? And like those were the things that we were battling this time last year. And we're trying to build a completely new business with a completely new offer, not knowing exactly where that was going to go. And yeah, like Hannah, how did that feel for you?
Yeah, I think love hate is the perfect way to message that, because it has not all been sunshine and roses and popping champagne with unicorns. I mean, it has been a really grueling, I would say like 18 months now, because for the 9 to 6 months before we became business partners, that's when I was at my rock bottom as far as that burnout, so much money, just bleeding money out to team, thinking I had followed all of the advice. I mean, I had even been in masterminds. I had invested 20K multiple times to try to get in these rooms, to like try to get the solutions. And all I had been hearing, I would say, so this would be 2023, 2024, 2023, all I had been hearing is just like, it's the energy game, Hannah. Like, you're at a level of business where you have a team, you just need to figure out the energy and become a better person so that you can lead and so that you can create more mini yous and just keep this like bloating of team. And I knew that wasn't going to be sustainable, just frankly looking at my credit card balance. Like, I had made some investments I had hoped would work out. I, again, had taken on all of this team, but I thought I knew a lot. And so then when Ore, you came in with an outside perspective, you haven't been in these, coaching masterminds, you don't know all of this like philosophy that they're teaching us. You really just came and looked at it concretely. And that outside perspective was just so key for me to be humble enough. I mean, I had to literally kick and scream and cry on my bathroom floor about it as you helped me hammer out the old parts of the business that literally had to die. So yeah, it wasn't all fun, but it is that kind of like TLC tough love that, I mean, of course, in hindsight, I'm glad, right? This is why we had to put the vision on the board, because I felt so far away from it. I felt so disillusioned by what would be possible. And so, yeah, love, hate. And now it just all feels kind of like surreal. Like, how did this all, like, a blur? So,
Yeah.
cheers to documenting it.
Yeah, cheers to documenting. And I think just last week, you and I were having a conversation about how important it is for us to document times like this because we were actually struggling to remember what it felt like to be in the dark. Like we were starting to forget our struggles and like the pain that it took to actually get us to this point. Like that's what I want to quickly just mention because yeah, we're going to talk about strategies. Yeah, we're going to talk about the steps that we took, but just mentality and mindset wise for anyone who's watching this and is currently at a place where like they're trying to scale their offer, they're trying to get clients in, it can be like a very tough place and it feels like the world wants to come to an end. But if you just don't give up and you keep going and you keep applying the right strategies, you're going to get to a point where that pain feels like it never happened. And that's why you don't quit. And that's why you just make sure you keep going again and again and again.
Yeah, two very vivid memories just popped into my mind as you were sharing that. One, it was post run, I was listening to a voice memo from you, and it was in those dark days where I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this. You had given me some breathing room. You given me like a long weekend. You're like, Hannah, just like do what you need to do. We're doing a lot of work. I can't have you, get tired now because we were just a few months into building this new offer and I got tired. And so you're like, okay, take a long weekend. And I came back to minutes of voice memos from you and I listened to them after a run. And the thing that stood out to me once was, this is going to be hard. You're going to have to flip the switch. You're gonna have to move the boulder over. Like I remember just picturing myself lifting up a rock, but you
Hmm.
really have to do it once because
Yeah.
I hadn't actually built a real business before. I had made offers and gotten paid to do things, and I could like keep putting out, okay, a retainer or a retreat or maybe this course. Okay, I could keep throwing things out, but I hadn't actually taken the time to flip the switch, do the hard work, and have a real business. So that was a definite, like, I remember that. And I remember having a lot of fear, but right after that, holy hell, yes. Right? Like you told me this is going to be work. We're building a real business. If this were easy, everyone would be doing it. But do you want to do this? And I got that holy hell, yes. And then I also remember a few months later, because I remember making that decision. I remember a few months later sitting on my couch tired again, because you get tired I got tired on this journey several times, but you learn the capacity, you learn the skills, and you saying, I feel like we've made it through the worst of it. And
Yeah.
so those two, like giving myself kind of that phase, we call it grad school now with clients, where it's like, okay, do you want to register for classes and learn how to build a business? Okay, you graduated to the place where now at least you like have an internship, right? And I think that's such an important mindset for people who look at something like, okay, 500,000 in 6 months, let's just like hurry up and get there, or let me sacrifice everything and not take care of myself and just make money. But it really was this commitment to doing something bigger than me, building a business. And we can get into the strategy of what we did, but I think having that mindset out of the
Yes.
gate was so I without those voice memos, we would not be here.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Like one of my favorite analogies that you use, and I think you're going to be the best to say it, is the one about, like swimming to the boat. About, like, do you
Yeah.
want to make that swim? Do you want to share that?
Yeah. Well, this was even before the like, do you want to build a real business? Because I had to see, and it was incredibly painful when you pointed out to me that I was on a sinking sailboat. I didn't just need a couple of new sales. I thought, oh, I just need some ads, like, because you were working an agency at the time. I was like, okay, yeah, just give me ads, give me volume, put some sales on this boat. But I didn't realize that there were holes in the boat and didn't have the right tools or the people on the boat. And if we put sails on it, it was just gonna like keep going down the wrong direction, probably sinking. And
Yes.
so again, when I'm on the boat, it's hard to know that. I would just think, let me just throw more band-aids or more patchwork onto this. And so it wasn't until you had the vision, and it was really because you spent so much time like looking at my body of work, right? Looking at the things I had done even before this one offer I thought I needed to sell more of. And you took that bigger perspective and you were like, Hannah, I can see a yacht. Like there's a cruise ship, there's a big yacht. There's lots of people, there's partying, there's a lot more ease. It looks like they're wearing nice outfits. Like there's something way bigger on the horizon for you, but you have to jump from this ship and swim the laps out there. Right. And like as coaches who think like life can be easy and let me just instantly manifest things, that's not how building a real business worked for us. And so that was a good analogy. And in that period between those text messages or those voice memos, it was very much so, how do I keep doing the laps? How do I keep selling myself on me, working the strategy that we're going to talk about? But I had to have that, this old thing that got me here needs to die. not be fixed.
Yes.
I needed a reinvention to get to this party boat that it feels like we're on now.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like just being on the other side of that, like we can 100% say it's worth it. And I mean, like just for and people who are listening to this, like you may be on that boat right now, and you may also have like that vision of like seeing a yacht in front of you and knowing that okay, like I want to get here, but one thing you need to keep in mind is you need to be willing to make that swim. Many people, like strategy aside, the main reason or the reason why they never get to that yacht is because they swim, a few strokes and like then they quit. Then they start to drown. And like that's the worst place you can be because now you've left your previous boat and then you're in the middle of nowhere and then you're not swimming anymore. And then you start to drown and then like things just start to go really, really bad. But it's like one thing we've learned through this journey is building a real business isn't for everybody. At the same time, we see nobody more deserving of building real businesses and doing this on a larger scale than life coaches because you guys have the solutions that heal the world, that change the world. And so you need to stop playing small and you need to get to a point where you're not just offering free sessions to people, you're not just being, charging per hour, you're not just like having clients who come whenever they want to come, but you have an actual real system that gets you clients on a month-to-month basis because that's what a real business is. And you need to make tough decisions and step into CEO identity to be able to make things like that happen. So that being said,
Yeah. Yeah. Because the other, like, just, your numbers side of the brain was just inspired here that a year ago I had 7 clients and they had been with me for a long time, but there were 7 people that I was helping. And yes, I had team and like people had fallen off, right? This is why we were in a bad place. I was like, we can't just have 7 clients. But I remember you saying, Ori, like, I can't believe you're just so focused on these 7 when there are 7 billion. And
yeah.
so we did need to get a strategy to get me out of that warm market, people who were used to seeing me just give random offers and shift into something that's a real business that we could take to mass markets that I can sell to people that I just met yesterday on the internet. And now we have 30 clients. And this is how we got to 500,000 in 6 months. It's through 30 clients, which to me has always been the goal of like a little classroom. And I know the ripple effect that our clients make, like that is just such a bigger impact. And sidebar, I have more time back in my life because I had to like cater to those 7 clients in a bizarre way. That wasn't the offer that was actually going to be scalable. So as you can hear, there were lots of pieces. It wasn't just an ad strategy. It wasn't just, oh, get this lead magnet out. It wasn't just, oh, come up with a new offer. It was taking a methodical look at what is going to make a sustainable cruise ship. Because I had my list of things. I don't want to be working all of the time. I don't want to work with people who don't understand my value. I don't want to have to bend over backwards to convince people. I don't want to dance on TikTok, right? Like you
Yeah.
knew my stubborn list, but it really feels like we've cracked a code. So where can we start when it comes to the strategy? I guess talking to our market.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like one thing I would love for you to share with people is like, how did you transition from your old offer to building an offer? Because your old offer was something where you were paid peanuts for, and your profit margins were so low. How did you go from that to building a high ticket offer that has high profit margins and really just makes you feel well rewarded for the kind of value that you provide?
Good, good. I had definitely fallen into a belief set that people needed more than just Zoom time. So I had worked with enough people, kind of like coaching them, teaching them about their branding, showing them how marketing works, working with them one-on-one via Zoom. And I was like, they need more than that. So I thought I should just go do it for them. So I had positioned myself in this done for you kind of agency model. My goal has always been to just get coaches' messages out there. And I thought, hey, if I do this for them, if I do their copywriting, if I get other copywriters in, like mini coaches that can help them just like actually produce, actually create sales assets, then I've got a great offer. And I talked to a few people in my inner circle and they were like, Sure, people hire copywriters. Okay. So I positioned myself as this service provider. Like, okay, you're going to just pay me a monthly retainer. I'm going to deliver these goods. We're going to have some Zoom sessions. Basically, we're going to see how it goes. And so that meant that I was making different deals with everyone who was coming in, mostly from referrals, just because I didn't have any other strategy besides tell your friends about me, or let me go network in this women's mastermind and see who needs a copywriter. Like, I was just networking and relying on referrals. And I didn't have a super solid offer. So it was just like, okay, whatever these women need. I was only working with women too. That was another place where I had really niched. I thought I was niching to just work with female coaches, but it really backed me into a corner where I had to just say yes to whatever offer they actually made me. You know, I'd have like a free little discovery session. I'd try to give them some free value, or maybe they would watch one of my webinars that I tried to put out every single month. And then they would come to me and kind of like, yeah, I would have to make these random offers.
Yeah, wow. And then like like how did you, at what point did you say, okay, no more of this? And why did you say that? And then what led you to building something bigger than that?
Yeah, because that also didn't work. So my intention was if I do this for them, they can play bigger, they can free up their time to do other things. But they didn't. They would just look at the copy that I wrote them and, oh, actually, I don't really want to say that. Maybe I should be a unicorn trainer. Like, they were just always changing things. We didn't really have a system, we didn't really have traction. And so it just kept me busy. And it was actually a position where if I do more work, I just keep this churn going. So I
Yeah.
hired other copywriters to try to help me with the fulfillment. Like, let's just keep these clients happy. But it really did feel like that never ending hamster wheel that folks talk about, where, okay, if I get more clients and I have to have more team and do more work, it was that like bloating feeling of just like more and more and more. Like, this isn't actually scalable. There's no, now I know the word leverage. But the big thing was just like, clients just left when their contract was over. It wasn't like contracts extended. It wasn't like people were like, wow, this is working so well. It was just kind of like I was their little mini maid for a year.
Yeah.
And sure, over time, they ended up paying me 10 or 20K, but I didn't feel great about the results that we were not getting. Again, it was just keep them happy, keep them entertained. And I hear this
Yeah.
from coaches too, and they're sometimes like, are we just friends? Am I your therapist? Why are we on Zoom? Should I be booking more one-on-ones with you? It was a very uncomfortable position that I was even like hiding from Slack and trying to
Yeah.
avoid meetings because I just knew like this is not good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can copyright, but why are we doing this? Where is this all going? For any of us.
Yeah, yeah, no, like you're touching on some very, very valuable points because like I think many coaches can resonate with this because like for other coaches, like this may be you jumping on calls just to do, a hypnosis session or to do like a random breathwork session. Why? Because like they say, oh, Hannah, I need, I'm stressed out, come work your magic. And then like they just use you, they drain you, and you get paid peanuts. And what's more frustrating about offers like that is it's not fulfilling. You know deep inside of you that this isn't what is going to save their life. Like we were speaking to one of our clients recently who used to be a health coach who charged like $75 or was it $80 an hour. And she used to do like this, honestly, for lack of a better word, therapy sessions where she would just like help people feel better. And when I asked her on a deeper level, like realistically, did anybody's life get transformed from this thing? And she was like, no, like 2 years, some people constantly coming for those sessions, just using her for it. And it's
Yeah.
like they're still stuck in the exact same place that they were. And so, like, just from an integrity standpoint, you're doing yourself a disservice, you're doing the world a disservice, and you're not fulfilling your true life purpose by just getting behind such a small offer and letting people use you for little, hourly things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because like it's the long-term wear of it. Short term, it
Yeah.
feels good, like a little jolt of like, oh, I helped someone, gave a little candy. but that's like giving a diabetic candy. It's like, okay, we can't just
Right.
this like entertain. The more candy I give you, the more your business doesn't go in the right direction or your health doesn't improve. And I think this is a big reason why so many people are like jaded by the coaching industry or think, oh, I've heard this before, or someone's tried to sell me on this before. It's because the good coaches aren't playing big enough to be
Yes.
in integrity. And you saw that in me, Ore. And I even told you, I don't want to be a mindset coach. I don't want to coach them on this. I just want to like do the work. Like, let's just, like show up and do what
Yeah.
we need to do. And so I did have that work ethic that you were able to see, like, again, lovingly, many hours of conversations, like you do not have a real business. And I didn't see that when I was so busy just keeping everyone happy and keeping everyone busy. It's the hindsight that now realize that helps me realize that that was incredibly out of integrity to just be exchanging my time for money. People need a true
Yes.
transformation, and the coaching industry needs more of us to focus on full solutions so we don't
Yes.
keep getting a bad rap out here.
Yes, yes, and like honestly, this is just going a little bit into our methodology. Like this is that nurse to specialist transformation. This is that coach to CEO transformation that we teach our clients about, where it's like as a nurse, you're delivering band-aids to people, you're giving them aspirin, you're giving them or like all these little meds, and they're always just going to see you as the nurse who administers meds to me. And you can be playing bigger. You can be the specialist. You can be the person in demand. You can be the specialist who says, no, I only want to work with 5 people. No, I only want to work with 3 people and truly transform their life and be rewarded for exactly what I'm doing. Because guess what? The nurse is always burnt out. The nurse is tired of her job. The nurse is overworked. The nurse doesn't feel like she's fulfilling her purpose. The nurse feels used by every single person. And you can play a much bigger game than just being a nurse or just like, a regular coach. And this is where you need to then step into your CEO identity to truly fulfill your life's purpose, to truly change and transform other people's lives. Like Hannah said, like this was something that I saw with her. And I remember back then, I couldn't believe, like for the life of me, that someone as skilled and talented and incredible with so many achievements under your belt, you just like chose to play on a smaller level. And I was like, do you have any idea that you're probably like the best female entrepreneur that I've ever met, and you can 100% like transform the landscape of the coaching industry. And by reason of her stepping into that CEO purpose, like money aside, so many clients' lives have been changed as a result. Like so many people who were in debt, so many people who were playing very small, so many people like we even have a client who like just fresh out of our coaching certification program, knew nothing about getting clients, now at a point where like she's hiring people, she's hiring team, she's being a real CEO, she's getting clients on a consistent basis. None of that would have happened if she didn't step into her CEO era, if she didn't step into her true CEO identity. And like for you listening to this, it's the same thing for you. Like the longer you wait to actually embrace a bigger authority or, transform yourself, you're robbing so many more people whose lives could be changed by reason of you. My life got changed by a mindset coach, right? I would be stuck in Nigeria earning $45 a month, right? With no electricity and crappy Wi-Fi. If I didn't have like someone who just held my hand and said, no, like there's something bigger for you out there. And so for everyone listening to this, like when you take that bold step and say, I want to do something bigger, your life is not the only one that changes. The lives of every single person who you impact changes as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what keeps me going now, like the real lives that I'm impacting. But I remember when it was just a delusion of like, yes, I just have to believe there's, billions of people that I can get out of this small circle of people I've been relying on. And it did mean, not just relying on referrals, but starting to get out of my warm market was
Yes.
one of the hardest short-term things to do because I had to let go of people pleasing. I had to let go of these people that I was working with for a year. I had to, kill an old version of myself. And that was an incredibly painful short-term move. But then it's been the delusion and the vision and something bigger than me that has helped us keep showing up Monday through Sunday, some weeks, to do this over and over and over again, because it isn't just, I think again, coaches are like, let me just do a big launch. Let me fix this. Let's just hurry up and get there. But it really has become, it is about the becoming and the CEO identity and the shift you're talking about from being a coach to being the CEO. It's the identity work first and foremost. And so I'm
Yes.
glad we're starting the conversation there, but I know the like coach and CEO inside of me is like, okay, but how do we do it? How do
Yeah.
we do it? And I will say that the thing that helped me so much, literally in the weeks where I was letting go of old contracts, letting go of old team members that I liked those people. Like, it doesn't feel good to fire clients or team members. And so in that week, Ora, you had me doing market research at the same time. And I think that was such a powerful layering of activities, because I'm someone, it can be easy to get pulled into the shadow or into the past. But as business owners, we have to be willing to move forward fast, right? Put your
Yes.
feet on the ground and keep moving forward. And so it wasn't a strategy at the time, but now that is something that we tell all of our clients to do. Just like get in conversation with your market, talk to fresh energy, get out of the old so that you can build the new. Because as I was firing those clients, we didn't have this entire system built out yet. We didn't know exactly what the offer was going to be, but you had me talk to my market.
Yes. Yes, 100%. And it's like just we're getting into the strategy now, like to help everyone track. Step one, be the person who's ready to get behind a big claim, because that's who she became first. Step two is talk to your freaking market. Okay, like I'm so tired of the amount of coaches that we speak to who spend months creating a course that nobody wants to listen to. Like you
Posting a
spend
reel a day.
like stop wasting so much time being busy doing nothing. Okay, you're busy in the wrong direction. And sales, let's not even call it sales, right? Impact, changing people's lives, it's really as simple as having conversations. It's as simple as talking to them, hearing their pain and what they're looking for, and just giving it to them. It's like it doesn't have to be in a course. Like I don't know who propagated the rumor that you have to have a course to become a coach. It's like no, you just have to have a solution, and and you can deliver that solution anyhow you choose to, whether it's through messaging, whether it's through Zoom calls. But what matters is you're being rewarded and paid sufficiently enough for the value and the outcome of that solution that you're giving to people. And so that's why we said step one, and that's why we spend so much time on the mindset stuff, because I know some of you may have been getting bored and feeling like, oh, like just give me the source. It's like it really does, like that foundation really does matter, because nothing else is going to change if from the very get-go you don't get behind a big offer, you don't get behind an actual real solution, a tangible, a tangible metric that can change someone's life. You offer that, and then you speak to people and say, hey, I have this thing, right? So Hannah, how did that go for you?
Well, let's just not forget that I wasn't convinced about needing a new offer. So remember those months before we were business partners, before we got to the part of like, yeah, I need a new offer, the old way needs to die. We did start to test some messaging. So we
Yeah.
used our systems to send some messaging out, like, okay, maybe people will buy this offer. Maybe people do need this copywriting thing you've got going on. And as soon as we took it to market outside of my warm referral
Yeah.
network, we were getting rejected all day. Nobody wanted this thing that my little insular referral group was down for. As soon as I took this to mass market or a cold audience, nobody wanted it. We even had someone who was insulted that I would be offering this to them. And
Yeah.
so that also helped, right? It was the like mindset and the therapy that we had to go through to shift my mindset to get behind a bold claim. But then it was just so obvious when we started turning on the systems and testing our lead gen that like this is not going to work. So getting out of my own head and getting that real feedback from people outside of my book club inner circle was so important, to then saying, all right, I'm going to be humble enough to get into market research. And I think everyone now, again, hindsight 2020, but we work with coaches who have 30 years of experience. We work with
Yeah.
people way older than us. And they
Yeah.
all are humble enough to do market research as well. Professors at Stanford, right? They have literally all of the answers. They are creating the solutions in their lab. But until you talk to your market, you'll never know how to package it. Even us who do marketing, okay, let's turn it on. Rejection. Let's be curious. Let's put market research calls. Then they literally told me what they were looking for. And copy was just a little part of it. And so it was insulting when I went out and said, hey, do you need this? They were like, no, I do not need your bubble gum or your Band-Aid. I'm looking for the yacht. And so,
Yeah.
okay, good. Let's all swim out there together was what I definitely learned from market research is that it's way easier to play big and solve big problems than to try and give them band-aids.
Yes, 100%. Way easier because if you even just think about it from the nurse to specialist analogy, it's like think about who has an easier time. Like the specialist just shows up to perform a surgery for like 5, 6 hours and he's gone. And then like the nurse is like every single day, like or like 80-hour weeks, just like how is that easier than just like doing something extremely valuable and showing up in a better way to actually change someone's lives, like someone's life. Because guess what? People don't care how many Zoom calls you have with them. They don't care how many sessions you're having with them. They just care that their lives are changed. And so,
Yeah.
however you choose to do that, like that's all they're looking for. And the more you don't give them what they're looking for, the more dissatisfied they're going to be. And that's why you, like some of you probably have, Hannah had a few clients like this, and some of you probably have these kinds of clients who like, even though they've been working with you for like a year or two, they don't trust you, right? They don't value you. They still, they still say things in front of you and say something else behind your back because they're not getting the real transformation that they're looking for.
And they stop paying at some point. So that's also an obvious, like this is a transaction, not a
Yes.
transformation.
Yes.
The other thing that market research call, because as soon as I was like, yes, let's play big, well, then the next limiting belief or the next gremlin was, well, how am I going to fulfill on all of that? I'm already bending over backwards for these done for you clients or these one-on-one clients that I have. How, like, what am I going to do? Give them more time, more one-on-ones? Like, it wasn't until I started to hear them say things like, I need someone to come in and be a strategic thought partner. I need someone
Mm,
who can like guarantee this is going to be rinse and repeat. I stopped
yeah.
hearing the someone and I started thinking about something. And this is something that CEOs think about, which is systems. So because
Yes.
I had already started seeding this, okay, it's going to be bigger than me. I didn't go on those market research calls and be like, oh my God, I'm just going to have to move in with you to fix all your problems. I don't know. No, I started like using my zone of genius and my creativity and listening on those calls and thinking about ways, well, like, okay, this could be a template. This could be a one-on-one. I could record a video on this. Like all these ideas started coming when I gave myself that permission to think bigger. And again, a specialist doesn't think, how am I going to, answer the phones, clean the toilets, book the appointments? They're not thinking about all those things. They're really thinking about their zone of genius. I'm going to show up for
Yes.
the heart surgery. And so that's another helpful mindset thing. Go talk to your market with the knowing that you're already going to be thinking and playing bigger than yourself. And for me, I already had a team. So I knew it wasn't just going to be about adding more team members. I think a lot of coaches just think, oh, I just have to hire a bunch of coaches underneath me. And that's not what people told me in market research calls. They don't want junior coaches. They want a solution. And those
Yes.
market research calls are something I'm still doing very regularly because they help me see what people actually need. What surgeries are they begging for?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, something I want to take us to next is so we did the market research calls. What came as a result of it? Like what was the aftermath of this? Like what
Okay.
do you do after having the market research call?
Yes. Okay. Well, I will say I was a little bit overwhelmed just because they wanted it immediately. So I knew, okay, I'm going to do these market research calls. I'm going to collect data. I'm going to take this with Ore. We're going to figure out like how we solve these problems together. But then on these calls, people were literally saying, Hannah, you got to tell me. come on, what's your pitch? Like, what are you working on? I'm so intrigued. You're connecting dots. I wasn't even connecting. Like, so I had all these really intrigued people. And I had to be honest and just be like, I don't have anything to pitch you right now. This copywriting thing is not it. Do you want to be one of the first to know when we have an offer? So I created a wait list, which really bought myself time to think critically, to think deeply, to not just take, and I was in a position, Ori, you remember, I wasn't even buying groceries at Walmart because of my financial dire.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it would have been tempting for me to just go say, what will you give me money for? But
Yeah.
instead I said, let me get back to you. And I bought myself about a week to think deeply, to not just take whatever money they want to throw at me and have to bend over backwards for their idea, but to really think, okay, what are going to be the steps that fill in all of these gaps? I think I had about 8 market research calls, and I thought about them just specifically, these 8 people, how would I fix it? And then we recorded a Loom video, right? I think it was in Google Sheets.
Google Doc.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Google Doc, just super simple, like, hey, this is what you told me. This is what we can do. Here's the solution. Do you want to partner with us to accomplish this in the next 5 months? And 5 of those people came back in the same week and said yes. So that was a big cash injection, but it didn't come from just taking whatever came. It came from taking the data, thinking concretely, and then presenting it to them. What do you remember about that phase?
Just like the fact, like, just little spoiler alert, this Google Docs she's talking about does end up becoming an extremely vital asset to us, something we call the manifesto now. Like this one Google Doc is the sole reason behind our $500,000 in sales, like in the past number of months. Like
Yes.
we're going to explain it in more detail very soon. But what I remember about that period of time, like, was, yeah, like understanding the fact, first of all, that sales can genuinely be just helping people. Because so many of you right now have the wrong perception or have the wrong foundation of sales, thinking, okay, you need to go in there and like find, you make them bleed, make them cry, make them do all these things. And it's really just, I'm trying to help you. So you find out, you have the market research call to find out their pain, to find out what they're looking for. You create the solutions, you present it to them, which is what you can now call pitching. And then they get to make the decision of, okay, I want this or I don't want this. But that's the thing, like, we created an offer so good that pitching it over a Google Doc got us people saying yes. Because it's like, so if you can just get the offer right, if you can have come from a genuine perspective of wanting to truly help people achieve their biggest goals, they're always going to say yes to you. That's why in our program we call this the easy yes offer, because it's just like it's a no-brainer. There's no reason why they would not want to work with you.
And it was so easy on my end to just send the video. And we just got email responses, right? And so we started to look at, okay, these are the messages that got people to talk to us. Okay, this is the video that got people to say yes to us. Like, success leaves clues. I
Yes.
knew I didn't need to take that data and go make a lead magnet, or okay, let me make a quiz, or let's run ads. It really has been just about like, what's the flow of this relationship that gets it to an easy yes, both for them to see that this makes rational, logical sense, and
Yeah.
me to not be like, I got to convince you into some emotional decision. I used to be a very
Mm-hmm.
emotional seller, right? Like, let's make you cry or let's make you feel this in your heart. And when we were able to present it in a Google document, it put so much less pressure on me to do that hard work, but really just like, let's look at the system. And I think
Yes.
this exercise forced me, we took a week to think critically about it, but because coaches and myself included are so busy putting out fires and thinking our only problem is more clients, we don't give ourselves that essential space to think deeply about the offer. How do you actually transform lives?
Yes.
It's so big and key.
Yes. Yes. No. 100%. 100%. So, as a result of that, we had our 5 new clients saying yes to us, and it was like, oh damn, yay, first of all, like, okay, 36K a week. And then next after that, it's like, oh damn, we actually have to fulfill on all of this, which is the part everyone listening to this is probably scared of. So how did we figure this part out? How, like, do you remember what the things we were doing at this point to like figure out fulfillment?
Yeah. Yeah. So out of the gate, there were more one-on-ones than we do now. And we use those one-on-one, sometimes two-on-one, Ora and I would both go to the sessions. And we had some videos, we had some trainings, we had some worksheets. We knew, okay, like out of the gate, this is going to be the process we follow because the Google Doc forced us to map that out. Again, our manifesto, this sales
Yes.
asset that we now rinse and repeat, forced us to think about those first few steps. So we had some of that, but we did do more one-on-ones for a period of time and let this first cohort, this first magic 5, build our leveraged program. So this is true for coaches. The same advice we give our clients is like, okay, because we weren't overwhelmed with clients, we had the time to show up and sit down and do the work in real time. But then there were things that we were repeating and we were like, go back to the recording. And then we were like, we should just have a generic recording so they can just do this on their own time. They don't need us spoon feeding some of these trainings. And then, okay, now I did still have one of my writers from the copywriting side. So we started to think about, well, what pieces can be done with you, right? So how could we maybe make a template and workshop this with you? Group calls eventually became kind of like an office hours thing, but it was just really like driving the airplane and building it at the same time. And so I remember, our Saturday huddles, Ore, where we would
Yeah.
just come together Saturday morning and be like, all right, let's review the week. What do they need to know? What else can we give them? How can we record this? Like, we just again committed to those couple of months of being in the rocket ship and building it at the same time. Or I guess now we're on the yacht. I should stick with my boat analogy. Like we had some
Yeah.
people come out with us. Now it's like, okay, get it all ready. And I'm so glad we took the time to work on some of those weekends to just get out ahead of where clients were at. Sometimes I felt like
Yes.
we were just a day or two ahead of them. Um,
Yes.
but now those are the same videos that these 30 people have gone through because we have seen what repeats, what they keep
Yes.
needing to hear, right?
Yes. Yes. 100%. I want to quickly touch on something that you mentioned, which is the fact that you had one of your copywriters stay back with us, and this person is someone who has like now evolved with us and become like our main client success manager and growth consultant within the program. And just for perspective, for everyone to understand like the contrast between when she was playing as a nurse and just like delivering band-aids, she had all these other nurses in the in her business, right? I think a team of like 8, 9 people at a time, and profit margins were like 28, 27%. Frankly, I think there were certain months we had conversations, Hannah, and you would be like, I don't know where money went. Like I know money's coming in the business, but I have no idea where it went. And so like I know for most people listening to this podcast right now, you're going to either be in two places. You're either in a place where you don't know how to get clients, and maybe you're just like managing your 1 to 2 clients, which we've just spoken about, or you're in a place where you did learn how to get clients, and then you try to scale, and then you try to get more, and then you fell into the trap or into the sinking boat that she was on. So, Hannah, what was it like having that huge team to then going to a point where out of your 8 team of copywriters, you left just one standing and still delivered on a bigger outcome than what 8 people were doing before?
Yeah. Yeah. I said, most embarrassing moments or like the cringe worthy, just the things that you look back on and you're like, what was she thinking? But again, I like followed the delegating advice. And there were months that we had so many clients that I could assign 8 team members to projects. Again, we could keep ourselves busy, but it was that bloat. And so there was some just like difficult conversations we all saw eventually when we were down to just those 7 clients, like, yeah, this is a sinking sailboat. Like, who's going to
Yeah.
jump off and start swimming in a different direction? But yeah, for the one who did stay with and kind of follow this journey, we have conversations with her all of the time about how it really is like living a different life. You know, she still worked with Hannah, but these are different, completely different work environment, completely different
Yes.
ways of showing up. And so all of us have been on that growth journey. But I think the thing I mentioned earlier in the video that just seems almost unbelievable, or like you can't quite wrap your head around, is how we've been able to win back so much time on
Yeah.
this journey. So now, just like you and I, or we don't have to sit and worry about where's our next client coming from. We can do this video. And because our client success manager isn't worried about, did this blog post get edited? She's creating more systems for lead generation for our clients. Like, it's the classic zone of genius. And when you elevate into being more of a specialist and you really work on the things that you have genius in, because you're not distracted by the just keeping people happy or fulfilling, this is where, like, we're just on this is why coaches love the work too. Like, you get to stay in the constant work of growth and development instead of
Yes.
stagnating with the same problems for 5 years.
Yes. Yes. No, 100%. This is I want to point something out, which is the fact that, like, for you, I came, like, it was sort of like I had to come to point out and identify that this is what you need to be doing. Like, this is your true messaging. Like, this is the outcome you need to be guaranteeing, right? So many other coaches out there, how can they recognize that? Like, how can they figure out that outcome, right? Just quick spoiler alert, by the way, like, the easiest way for you to figure that out is to work with us. Because
Yeah, because I
genuinely,
still, my Barbie box thing. Like, I felt
yeah,
like Barbie in the box where I'm like, okay, I could be like Malibu Barbie and do it this way. I could be Beach Barbie and do it this way. I could be like, I had all these like outfits and tools, and like I could copyright, I could speak, I could write a book, I could do all these things. I'm inside the Barbie box and I have no idea what to put on the label outside of this. Like, it's a very classic identity crisis because none of us know what to put outside of the box when we're inside of it. And so this has been true even before I met you, Ori. Like, I always needed someone else. I mean, still, even in like my personal life goals, like I have a little group, I call them my executive suite of best friends who give me
yeah,
feedback and help me see
yeah.
what I can't see.
Yes, yes. And it's so ironic because, like, you're a coach and people need coaches. You know that you need to coach someone for them to realize that they are going down a bad path or going down a wrong path. And then you can then align them down, on the right path. But it's so funny and ironic that you know that, but you think you're going to figure out your own messaging yourself. Like, genuinely, you can't. Like, I can't, I didn't know my messaging until Hannah looked at me from the outside and also told me, this is what you need to talk about, or this is who you actually are. You need someone who sees you for, like, that was like the best analogy you could use, Hannah. The whole, like, Barbie in a box thing. You need someone from the outside to see, oh, like, you're blonde, you have blue eyes, and you're fancy, you're a beautiful girl, and little girls are gonna love playing with you. Like, you need someone else from the outside to tell you that this is who you are, and then you can have that forehead tattoo, like we like to call it, right? That now says, okay, this is what my messaging is going to be. Like, genuinely, if just like, because I don't want you to think like we're promoting a service here. Like, this isn't even about like money, because like money is the last thing that we're desperate for right now. But generally, just like valuable advice, you need someone from the outside. You're going to get it faster if you work with us, obviously. But if you're not in a place where you have enough cash, get friends, right? Get people outside of you. Ask them questions. How have I been able to help you? Like, they need to see you from the outside and say, this is what you can do. This is who you are. In addition to speaking to your market and then knowing that, okay, this is my messaging.
Yes. Yeah. It's just being human. Also, don't try to give yourself your own haircut. Like, get
Yeah,
someone to do that. Yeah. Yeah. So
100%.
so Okay, so going back to like our process. So we decided we need to play bigger, we need a new offer. I talked to the market, we did those market research calls, we recorded a Google Doc, said, do
Yeah.
you want this? They said yes. We were off and running with figuring out the fulfillment side. And we do get this question all the time. You know, I kind of threw some spaghetti at the wall as far as things that we've done, but this is again a personalized process because we work in the client acquisition space, but we have clients who work in career or health, or like we have one client who helps rabbis become better leaders. Like these are all very different programs. And this isn't a cookie cutter. Okay, now you're going to make a group call. Okay, now you're going to make them weigh themselves every Tuesday. But this is where coaches need to be, in that zone of genius of thinking creatively and critically about putting all those tools from your Barbie box together into that bridge from
Yes.
they are to where they want to be. And it's always amazing how we see our clients just like light up, right? When they finally shift away from where's my next client coming from to way better questions like how good can it get for my clients and how can I make this easier for them to access and how can I get faster results? Like it's just such the transformation we see in our clients. It's not where you're supposed to be, figuring out the marketing all of the time. We do our best to make it simple. We have systems, you know how to have conversations, but that's the big shift to really get into that CEO place, is to elevate your perspective and start thinking like a specialist, not just
Yeah.
that worried about the wrong things all the time as a coach.
Yes, 100%. And here's the thing where, like, for us, this is why, because we've seen many other programs and we set out to build a solution that generally doesn't exist anywhere else in the market. We had been in several programs ourselves, several courses ourselves, and understood the pain of messaging, which is why for us, with every client that we get, the number one thing that we pay attention to first is having a one-to-one call with them. Like this is something that no course can make you realize, no video training. Like you genuinely need someone to listen to you and understand you and say, okay, this is what it is. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck for a long period of time. I know because that was what happened to me. She knows because that's exactly what happened to her. And the secret to eventually unlocking it is really just getting expert perspective on it. It's also the reason why, even though we have solid client acquisition systems and we could go out there and make lots of money, we're not just like money hungry. It's the reason why we've stuck to just working with 5 clients every single month for the past couple of months, because we don't want to sacrifice that quality and we're really committed to making sure that people figure this out. Now, what I just want to like circle back to is our process, right? So we talked about market research, we talked about, giving them the Google Doc, we talked about them eventually becoming clients. I
Yes.
want to like go on to how this gave us our CEO process. Like, how did this lead into the CEO funnel?
Yes, I want to one more thing on the message,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
because I'm glad we're getting into like the sustainability of this, because you may have had like a girlfriend give you feedback on what your messaging should be, or you hire a graphic designer that asks you what's your font color. And okay, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about putting together all of your expertise and random certifications and life experience into something that the mass market will buy. Now, when I talk about mass market with coaching, we know it's not for everyone. Coaching is for people who are high performers and appreciate the value. This is also why we're very selective in who we work with. We only want to work with elite types of people. But the difference in what we were looking at in creating that Google Doc and where we're going to go as far as this being sustainable is that it can't just be cute to a few. It has to make sense to the masses, to people who don't know you yet. And I think that's a big challenge for coaches who have gotten to a place where they're like, well, I've sold this mastermind for 3 years and I make 300K a year. And yeah, like maybe I just need to do more of this. But I really think that multi six figures is the hardest place for coaches to be, because you figured out some messaging that works, but it's not going to be what gets you to have authority over where you want to go. And when we talk about having authority, this is about positioning. So
Yes.
sometimes coaches think messaging is like, oh, we're just gonna slap a forehead tattoo on you and be like, I am a health coach who helps women with thyroid imbalance. No, this is about like really unpacking that Barbie box and having people who are ahead of you in business say and test and have the scientific process in place to take it to people that you don't know, people off of the internet. And
Yes.
that's the piece where coaches play small because they think, oh, I'm just going to send my message to my Instagram followers, or I'm just going to host an email webinar, or I'm just going to do these little things. So you don't really get the feedback, right? You
Yeah.
got the bowl cut, but you need the hairdresser that's going to give you the blowout and put you on
Yes.
the red carpet, right?
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness, that's such a solid distinction that you just pointed out, Hannah. It's like, yeah, like messaging and positioning are two completely different things. It's like you and I could have the same message, could have the same offer, could have the same dream outcome, and would attract completely different kinds of clients because of how we position ourselves. Like that's what positioning is. And so it can be a case where, like, let's imagine we weren't business partners. You are helping coaches get clients. I also am ultimately helping coaches get clients. But guess what? I would position myself in the direction of my story, and I'll be helping other people in a different direction, while you would position yourself according to your story and be helping people, like scale to maybe 7 figures. Like, it's always about your story, and you need someone else to listen to your story, to listen to your achievements, to listen to your expertise, put all those things together, and eventually put together a formula for your positioning.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it can't be a course, can't be cookie cutter, can't be one Zoom session. It
Yeah,
has to be the full solution. So you were going to speak to how we do this sustainably. And I think this positioning piece is really key because again, yeah, go try a flashy launch. We're talking about 5 clients on repeat. Ori's traveling. I just got back from the beach this morning. Like, we're talking about the long game here. So we
yes.
shared with you what we did in just a month to get our first 5. So now how did we rinse and repeat what worked to see us get to this 500,000 mark?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what we didn't realize at the time when we built the new offer was we were engineering a process. We just, well, it was like, okay, this happened, and it was like, okay, but we can't really be stuck doing market research forever. And so we had to take, several steps back and have a bird's eye perspective on what really worked. It's like at the end of the day, we simply found people, we spoke to them, and we give them a solution. And so we created a CEO method where it's connect, engage, and educate, then give your offer. And these 3 things are this like we've been doing this consistently for the past several months, and it has never failed. It doesn't fail our clients, it doesn't fail us. And we're boiling it down to those 3 things because so many of you stay stuck in just small tactics, like, oh, I'm going to make content, oh, I'm going to run ads. Like, it's not about the tactic, it's not about how, it's about the things that you're putting in place, the method, the systems that you are aligning together to ultimately get to the end goal of making a sale, to ultimately get to the end goal of getting a client. And so for us, taking a step back, we're like, okay, now we need to make this repeatable. What's the best way for us to get people? Is it running ads? Is it hosting a webinar? Like, how can we get awareness? And this led us into thinking about very, very efficient systems. Like, you always want to look at your solutions and look at your client acquisition system from a perspective of how easy and efficient can this get? How affordable can it get? And when I say affordable, I don't just mean from a money standpoint, I also mean from a time standpoint. Because sure, maybe making content is going to get people to learn about me, but it's also taking me 30, 40 hours a week to
And it's
create
a
and post
maybe.
every single day.
And it's a maybe.
It's a maybe, exactly. It's not predictable. It's like, okay, so I spend this 30 to 40 hours pushing out 7 reels for the week, and then crickets, and then like where are the leads, and then like where's the person asking about my offer? Like these are things you need to think critically about before you say, okay, this is what I'm going to pursue. And so for us, it was like we need to design a lead gen system that can connect us and get us anywhere between 8 to 10 applications on a weekly basis for our program.
Yeah. And this is where you being a bro and having an agency and being in a different industry was so helpful, because I was so stuck in the lead gen that coaches were feeding us, right? These like marketing gurus tell you those things: ads, webinars, email, content, all that noise. And then you were like, well, here's how like med spas book clients. Here's how like window repair
Yeah.
people, like, other businesses, right? If we're building a real business, let's look at what works. This is also why
Yes.
we took a CEO. I did not invent that. Okay. Yes, it's cute. I stole it from corporate CEO, but connect, engage, and educate, offer. Like that's what blacksmiths had to do hundreds of years ago. That's what we will have
Yes.
to do even when robots take over. It's like there's always going to be that human process. You don't ask someone to marry you before you've even met. Like you don't post offers to Instagram to say, do you want to get in bed with me and work with me for 6 months? Like, it just doesn't make sense when you take the lens of CEO. How does a real business work? And so this is when we were looking at adapting lead gen systems that work for other businesses, but had to do the hard work. We even looped in my husband at this point. He was like, okay, we got to crack this nut. How are we going to
Yeah.
crack this nut to make it work for coaches? Because it is a weird thing to sell.
Yes.
Intangible, call it what you want, but coaching is a weird thing to sell. It isn't window repair.
Yes. Yes. And for every single stage of the funnel, for every single stage of the connect, engage and educate, and make an offer part of the funnel, we genuinely thought about every single thing that was frustrating and unsustainable that we had to go through, that many coaches have to go through. That is the reason why you don't see success. Because hey, strategies are never the problem, right? Sustainability is the problem. You can just put something random together and then like in a month you get some clients, but it's like, can you keep getting clients again and again and again? And we were very committed to making sure that we arrive at something that will keep us in integrity and will keep working for us even 12 months later. And this is where like I started thinking, okay, what are the things that burn people out the most? Okay, you join programs, they tell you to build all these complex funnels, right? You're getting a ClickFunnels subscription, you're getting Go High Level, before you know you're running ads to the funnel, you're doing a launch. It's like so many things just for people to find you. I was like, how simple can this get? Then I brought, we brought an automation system in place. Okay, we can actually connect with people on an automated basis without actually advertising, right? That's a whole proprietary system that, we had to build ourselves. We literally had to partner with, a different tech company to build this system. And like, we actually like, even we wish we could give this to everyone out there, but like genuinely, it's only something that people who become clients can actually partake of. But like, yeah, like our clients right now are getting clients without running ads, without spending $2,000 a month, without spending, without building all these complex funnels that you really have no business building, because you're not a marketer, you're not a tech expert, you're a coach who just wants to help people, and you need to find the simplest way possible to get those people to learn about you.
Some of them even without Instagram. And I think that still blows people's mind. Like the whole, again, we're just so pigeonholed, or we just get so focused, and the algorithm doesn't help us to think that, okay, it has to be in this like coaching vortex, when yeah, let's come back to the basics. And so building that software, having people come in and again give that outside perspective. We had our, at least I had my lens of like, will coaches eat this up or will they run away? That was like
Yeah.
what I could bring to the table. But then you were able to bring with the, you know agency background, like, okay, well, what actually drives people to buy? What is the
Yeah.
market actually going to respond to? And then, my husband coming in from mostly because he saw like how frustrated I was, that I was like, okay, let's clean up this frustration. But then also just thinking about like the art of conversation and like, how do relationships work? He we all got to bring that zone of genius to the table. And this is exactly what we want our clients to be in the position to do. Because coaches, just like AI, automations, technology, we do need to have some of our genius going into thinking about how these tools are going to work for us. We are thinking about solving, lead gen problems, but it gave us, again, that mantra that I've been saying a little bit today, but this is when I really picked up the idea that like, it's problem, no problem. Like we're always going to be solving things. I'm glad it's not only where is the next client coming from, but building that capacity to, all right, let's find the solutions. Let's tinker with them. Now we talk to clients about this, like the scientific process. We're going to have
Yeah.
hypotheses and we're going to get you in front of people and then we're going to iterate. And so many coaches give up if one launch doesn't convert. But this system lets you change your message every week if you need to. Like, let's keep testing. And I think coaches think about that when they think about mindset work or even some of their fulfillment, but we have to embrace that beginner's mindset or that, like being like now Ori and I just know our job is to solve problems. So it's like problem, no problem. This is what we do. We solve problems. That's a C.
Yeah,
That
absolutely. Yes. So that was the C for us, figuring out, okay, automations, get people into the funnel. Next thing is, there's this thing in the coaching space where, like, and it's so funny for people who run ads because like you run these expensive ads and then people are in your funnel for 2 years and they never become a client. It's like that's something extremely painful and frustrating. And so the next piece of the puzzle for us to solve was, okay, yes, now we're getting the people. How can we get them to the sale as fast as possible? You have people on your email list who have been there for 2, 3 years, they never converted. You have people, following you on Instagram, they never connect. They just there watching you and not actually interested in what you're selling. It's like that's not how real businesses work. Like, sure, it's cool to have these followers, but a real business is all about, listen, dude, do you want to buy my stuff or do you not want to buy my stuff? It's like, it's genuinely that simple. And the next thing we engineered was really like a process that helped us to take someone from a complete stranger to getting in a sales conversation with us within just 3 to 10 days. That was our goal. And that's what we've been doing every single month. And that's really where, like the genius of, Hannah's husband came in, because like like there's certain conversational principles that you have to have in place for people to get to that point as quickly as possible. But it's like efficiency, like these are the things that make you realize this is a real business. Like these are also things that when you have working in your business as a coach, you start to have respect for yourself. Because let's not kid ourselves, right? You're one person trying to make all of these things work. And some days you're probably going to feel like, do I even know what I'm doing? Like, is this a real business or am I kidding myself with this LLC? It's like you need volume, you need meetings in your calendar to make you understand that, okay, there's sales in the pipeline, right? There are people who want to buy my thing rather than just like dancing on TikTok. Not like no shade to people, like the content has its place. Like, look, we don't shade on content. Like, it's something that is very relevant at a certain point in your business when you're not desperate for sales. You need a real system to get you clients first before you then add a different layer of, whatever we want to call it, of systems to then maybe give you wider exposure. Because
yeah.
when you're making content, you don't want to be in a place where you're like, zero in my bank account. Oh my goodness, no clients for 5 months. Like, you don't want to be in that kind of position.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the quality over quantity play. So this is a mistake that I definitely made, just focusing so much on top of funnel content, like reels or posts or just, now I just feel like it's blab, blab, blab. If you just post, post, post. And one of our clients, the one you mentioned, who had never had a paying client, but she just graduated from her coaching certification, she was too afraid to go out on Instagram and be like, I'm a transformational coach, I'm a health coach. She was still feeling like, who am I? Because she hadn't helped anyone as a coach officially yet. And so we dove into her manifesto and said, okay, great. Don't worry. Yes, we need to like optimize your profiles, but we have someone to help you with that. We need you to look credible, but we don't need you to think that this is about committing to doing dancing on TikTok.
Yeah.
So we had her focus a few weeks on her manifesto and just pour all these ideas you have, all these inspiring quotes, all these personal stories, all the things that you would think, oh, I should go make a reel about. Well, let's unpack that in the manifesto. Let's give them something more to chew on, this quality. So we actually have something that can educate people, not just entertain them the same as a cat video would, but actually get into their minds and their hearts and their pockets, because this is about inspiring them to a buying decision, not thinking you're cute like a dancing cat. So this client didn't post on Instagram to get her first client. She simply sent her manifesto. Now she is in a position where, okay, sure, she'll go post some things just to, again, look like a real human and have that credibility, but content is not the strategy. It's about getting them to the quality video that they need.
Yeah.
Which we now have as the manifesto. I think a lot of coaches think, oh, I'll just invite people to my retreat, right? You know, they need some experience with you, but now we can do it 10, 14 times a week and have people
Yes.
spend time with you, not just heart you and move on.
Absolutely. And like that's one of the key. I remember one of our clients we want to call with her, and like we exposed this because like she had been posting content 2 years on end. You know, we had another person who wanted to work with us, was on a call with us, and she's really huge in the space, like thousands of followers, I think over 30,000 followers. And she said, hey, like I'm in debt. Like there's no sales coming through. And it's like that's when we really started to hammer the messaging home to our clients that posting is not marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Two completely different things. Posting is not selling, it's not making sales. And like even for us, we just started posting now. Like this $500,000 has nothing to do with creating content. It has nothing to do with that. And so I just want you, like, I want that to sink in for everyone watching. Is like you can 100% scale to multi six figures without dancing on TikTok.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And it's not our fault, right? Again, like the algorithm and everything around us makes us think we're behind if we're not following the latest audio trend. But I know coaches know like there is a better way. And the beautiful thing about those evergreen educational sales assets, Manifesto is one that we build for all of our clients. It's kind of that manifesto, right? That flywheel that all of their other content comes off of. But I'll
Yeah.
also admit that if any marketer tells you, oh, you just have to make one video and you'll be buying an island in 6 months, is lying to your face. You're going to need more than just one video. But we were able to drive everyone to this one video. So now it's a requirement that you must watch this video because we know it shows you everything you need to know to want to work with us or not before we have a sales conversation. So moving into the we've already addressed so much about the offer, about
Yeah.
making your message, get behind big claims and building stake in your authorities in your message, and then connecting it with people who can actually afford your services. And then the educating is already laying out the offer. So by the time our folks get to sales calls, I already told you how easy it was from the market research perspective. Like people can just watch and say yes. But we do still host sales calls that are much more of like an application or a qualification call. So we see so many of our coaches. I mean, you might have the numbers on this, but I know recently there was at least 4 of our clients who got on their first sales call from this system and closed high ticket. And
Yes.
most bros will tell you, oh, it's a numbers game. You got to get through the nose. You got to pound pavement. You have to talk to all these tire kickers before you get to a yes. But because of all of these other steps we've taken, sales is, it can be really easy for our coaches. Yeah. So on the or a kind of wrapping up on this, what do you have to add about actually making the offer, sealing the deal?
Yeah. I mean, it's everything you just said. It's like if you've done every other thing right before now, then like sales is easy. It's like it's only hard because you're making it hard. It's only hard because you're doing all the wrong things, and like let's actually speak to the mindset of this, okay? Like sales strategy aside, assets aside, for some of you, you're not making sales because you're desperate, because you're operating from scarcity mindset, because you know damn well that this one person you're speaking to is your only hope. And that's because you don't have a real system to get you calls. That's because you don't have a real system to put sales in your pipeline. That's because you're spending too much time on all the wrong activities, that by the time it's time for you to have an actual life-changing conversation with someone else, you're already tired and exhausted. You're already burnt out. You're not coming from, and they can smell it. And they can start to be like everything you're trying to avoid, in not looking like a salesman, you're actually giving that energy off. Like, oh, I don't want to look like I'm selling or like I'm pitching. It's like because you're so burnt out, because you're so exhausted, because you're so tired, you don't realize that you end up being desperate. And people can realize that, oh my goodness, this person doesn't have any clients. This person is just, looking to. But if you had 10 other people who have applied to speak with you for that week, guess what? You would be on a call speaking like an actual doctor, like an actual consultant, listening to these people. You would be like an actual specialist, realizing I can help you, I can help you. And like,
Yeah.
guess what? Guess what happens when you go to when you speak to the specialist? Like he doesn't have any time to waste. It's like dude, like you're gonna die next week if you don't fix this, and if you don't want to fix it, like that's when you take care, goodbye. But like many of you, you're not in a place of abundance enough to reflect that kind of energy, and that's because all the other parts of the funnel are currently suffering.
Yeah. Yeah, that feeling of being in demand. I remember that was such a different shift. As soon as we had the manifesto, right? So the market research calls couldn't watch that, but then we just started having everyone watch that before they talked to me. And it was night and day for how people showed up. Now, yes, I was out in my warm market, so I didn't have to people please like I used to on sales calls and be like, oh, like I heard Sarah referred you. Now we're girlfriends. Now we're going down this weird, do you like me enough to maybe send me some money conversation. That was the old way. But as soon as the manifesto started going out, I felt in demand because folks were showing up to the calls, applying to work with us. And
Yeah.
I know so many coaches desire that feeling too, because this isn't for everyone. We want our process to weed folks out and only talk to people who give a damn, who actually want to have this conversation, who are looking to invest in themselves. And so I started feeling in demand even in the first few months, even before our roster was more full. I did feel like I was in more of this place of authority and I could be choosy, even though my bank account was still like, are we sure we're not just taking anything we can get to pay these
Yeah.
credit card bills? I just felt energetically like, no, I'm really hand selecting these folks. We have a good close rate, but it's not because I necessarily went and spent a year in sales school. It's because they watched that video. And so now I have the belief that, okay, if you watch the video and you're still showing up, like this is for you. We're just here to
Yeah.
figure out how to get started. And that's such a different energy than where I had come from in sales for a long time, which was much more about, convincing.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I mean, if you design the offer to be everything that the market wants and you communicate it properly with the manifesto, you don't have to convince anyone. Like, listen, here's something we want you, like, we actually want to turn some people away from working with us. Okay, like that's the purpose of that video. Like, we actually want some people to watch it and say, this is not for me, and say, you're not, like, I don't need this surgery, because we don't want to spend time convincing you. Like, we want you to realize and say, oh, okay, like I want this, or I don't want this. And that's a different kind of energy to come from. Like, it's like, yeah, like you're an adult, you can make a decision and realize that this isn't for you. And if you made a wrong decision, like we actually had someone who spoke to us initially and came back 2 months later and was like, well, actually, I need this. And so it's the same. It's like you think you don't have the pain, like that's cool, keep doing what you're doing. And then you come back and you realize, oh wait, my knee hurts and I need your help, doctor. That's the kind of energy you need to be coming from.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hear so often, like, this is how I want my sales conversations to go, because I think it is a breath of fresh air for folks who have been on, hard sale conversations, or they've been told you have to create this whole new persona of you in order to sell high ticket coaching, when you really can just like show up and be authentically you and rely on the stories that you tell and the way that you position yourself, so that you do come from that place of authority, which, my woo-woo side, it's strategic, but it's also the energetic shift of not actually being desperate, of not actually trying to take anyone. And it's been such a key for our coaches, especially the busy ones, who are like, I'm not trying to just like work with anybody. Like, I'm not trying to just take money for the sake of taking money. We see this kind of hand selecting being really attractive to the folks that we work with too, because you're not for everyone. Let's just make sure you're positioned for easy yes. That's what we say now.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, that all feels like pretty linear and clean. Definitely we bring everything back. If you've been watching other videos, right? Like the CEO framework, it's not rocket science. It's not brand new information. It's really about how you implement and how you show up to the scientific process of building a real business. And I think there's a whole lot of, like we said, noise or distraction about these simple it's not even that they're calling it get rich quick plans, but that's what it is. Ori, when you were saying like this, like strategy
Yeah.
happy cluster,
Yeah.
it's
Like,
way more
you
simple than
know, you get your rush of, energy or results in 2 weeks, and then
what.
crickets, right? Exactly. You
Yeah.
need to come back and build an actual system that gets you predictable applications, eyeballs, clients, leads every single month.
And one Tuesday afternoon, you'll just be showing up to the process and do a little math and realize we did it. I think that's
Did
another
it?
like, piece I want to put on this video is like, it feels like another day at work when you realize,
It
you have
does.
these big financial goals. Maybe you got champagne in
Mhm.
the freezer. Maybe you think there's gonna, like nobody came in here and blew a trumpet. We did turn on this video. This is how we're celebrating. And it truly
Yeah.
is because of the process goals. Yes, we had this outcome goal of 1 million in a year. Okay, we're halfway there, but it's all because of the process, not because of
Yes.
the quick get rich quick. I know that's not how we think about it, but it is the shiny
Yeah.
objects and the maybe this one thing will save my business. It's a bigger commitment to the CEO process.
Yes. Yes. And like Hannah said, if you stay committed, then one Tuesday afternoon, you're discussing it and reflecting on the journey, drinking apple juice. On
Their virtual cheers to growth. Yeah.
yeah, cheers to growth.
Cheers to growth. Thank
Yeah.
you. Good
Yeah,
one.
just one more thing I want to like just touch on before we wrap this up is I just want us to like um speak to the audience and say, okay, like where next are we going from here? Like what's the next step for us? What's the big vision? What do we see? Like why are we still doing this? Why do we keep going?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just rereading one of my favorite books, The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. I read it 10 years ago, and it's what helped me quit my day job and leave my small town in Wisconsin. And so picking it up again, the principles are coming back. And I've never done things because I just want to like, yes, I love the beach, but I also like don't just want to eat potatoes at the beach all the time. Like I've always had this feeling that like there's Tony Robbins calls it the sleeping giant within. And Jack Canfield talks about like if the dream is in you, it is for you. So I've
Hmm.
had this thing inside of me. At first, I did want this classroom of clients, right? This 30 number was
Yeah.
my magic number when we met. And so now we're here, but in classic Hannah fashion. And I think in classic coaching or personal development fashion, we already know that there's so much more, right? You get to one level and then you want to dream big again. And so, based on the research and what we know about how these businesses work, we know we can use this model to get to multi millions. as far as revenue. Okay. But again, that's not what's as interesting to us as helping 100 coaches go full time this year.
Yes.
So we're at 30. We've, okay, halfway
Or
on.
35.
Okay. Okay. So we're over
Yeah.
halfway there. See, we don't even know because we're just so
Yeah.
focused on continually making these stretch goals. And for me, you're going to put your voice on this, but for me, the reason why I keep doing this above and beyond my 10-year goal that we just achieved is because it is so much bigger than me. So because the CEO role has taught me how it's not just about exchanging my time for money. We have created a program that's bigger than me and you, but
Yeah.
can gone beyond us. And so it's
Yes.
not about like selling the business, right? That's not the goal. The goal is to make
Yes.
sure that this continues to provide coaches with a solution that we hear them begging for every single week. And
Yes.
as the world continues to evolve, I'm just more and more convicted in my deep-seated belief that we all need a coach and there are plenty to go around and
Yes.
good ones need to be findable. We all need to
Yes.
find the best coaches. Just, my real goal is to raise consciousness and I see coaches doing that in a big level. And so we want to get this to 100 this year and then eventually to 1,000 so they can live full time in their coaching work, not worrying about where clients or dollars are coming from, but just doing the work the world needs.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just selfishly, why we're so behind that goal is because we know this game of life is way beyond vanity cravings. And we really want to deposit so much goodwill in this world. And our own way of adding goodwill to this world is by helping coaches become successful because there's a ripple effect that comes as a result of that. If we help you change other people's lives, it means we are a part of that process. And imagine what happens when 100 coaches change the lives of thousands of other people and it all started with us. So like selfishly, we're really just trying to deposit as much goodwill in this world and leave the world a better place than where we found it.
We'll be taken care of along the way, right? I had a sign in my crappy apartment in San Francisco. I reference that era sometimes when I was just starting this whole coaching thing. And the printed out piece of paper said that you'll get what you want as soon as you help enough other people get what they want. And you can't deny the fact that all of us are interdependent. And so, of course, Ori and I have selfish goals of being on literal yachts. Okay, that's fun. We want to make the most of this life, but we know it's not going to be sustainable unless we do it from a place of integrity and actually look to improve the world. Uh,
Yes.
so those are the little things we discuss over our morning meeting.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, this was fun.
It was fun. Yeah, we'll see when the recording pops back in. I guess we should get back to work.
Let's get back to work. Cheers to growth.
And dream life is real life.